tonight's presentation, the facts about youth vaping. We'll answer many of your questions from what's in a vape, why is it so addictive, how can I stop, or how can I have a conversation with my friends or with my students. This webinar is being hosted by the Chemical Awareness Prevention and Education, or CAPE Coalition, and our Creating Our Range campaign, which is made possible through the Positive Community Norms Grant through Rockridge Public Schools, which we received from the Minnesota Department of Human Services, Behavioral Health, Housing, Deaf, and Hard of Hearing Administration. CAPE is a coalition made up of community members across northern Minnesota. We seek to work with the entire continuum of care, from prevention through those seeking recovery. If you'd like more information about CAPE, please feel free to leave your email in the chat and we will reach out to you afterwards. Across our communities, most of our students are making good choices. At Rockridge, most of our students do not vape. In St. Louis County, most of our students do not vape. But we all know that doesn't negate the fact that it's a concern that some of our students do. As community members, as parents, as friends, we want to have the facts available to have good conversations with our students. As a logistical note, before we get started, this webinar is going to be recorded and sent to each person who registered. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. The recording is going to be recorded in presenter mode, so unless you're speaking, you'll not be visible. We'll have resources that will also be emailed out to everybody. And for those of you who are watching this recorded, please feel free to email any of the folks that are listed in your resources and reach out to us so that we can get you your questions answered. Now, without further ado, it is my great privilege and honor to introduce our guest speaker, Taylor Blakeman. Taylor is a regional coordinator for Healthy Northland with the Carlton Cook Lake St. Louis County Community Health Board, where she works on healthy eating, well-being, active living, and commercial tobacco-free communities. Prior to this role, Taylor worked 4 years as a specialist in advocacy and public policy at the American Lung Association, working to reduce youth use of vaping in Northeast Minnesota. Taylor's been funded by Clearway Minnesota, Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, the MDH Youth Initiative, and the Statewide Health Improvement Partnership, or SHIP, to engage communities on policy aimed to reduce nicotine addiction among our young people. She brings a robust knowledge of the issues with youth vaping, as well as resources that can help us to address this addiction that is often hidden in plain sight. Taylor, welcome.
Hi, Cassandra, or hi, everyone. Thanks for making that introduction, Cassandra. I'm just going to click share my screen here. All right. Yeah. So thank you, CAPE, and or just want to say thank you to CAPE for having me on today, and to just talk a little bit more about vaping. I named this session Vaping 101, the top 10 things you need to know about the youth vaping epidemic. And I just a little bit more about my background and kind of what I'm doing now. I work with Healthy Northland, which is a regional health initiative that focuses on a variety of different topics, but I just feel so grateful that I get to still talk about vaping, because it definitely is still a problem. And I think even one person who's addicted to a vape is still, unfortunately, one too many. So before I really dive in, I just wanted to just make people aware that when I'm saying, or if I mention the term tobacco, that I'm really referring to commercial tobacco products and vaping in particular, and that I'm not referring to the sacred or traditional tobacco that is often used by many of our many indigenous populations or groups, and for a lot of different cultural reasons that are not really have anything to do with the inhalation or addiction of tobacco. So just think it's important to make that clear before I dive in here. So what is one of the first things that would be helpful to know if you're really wanting to know more about vaping? And one of the first things that I think is really helpful is to actually understand what an e-cigarette is. Some people call them END products, and stands for electronic nicotine delivery devices. And this is basically an umbrella term that's used to describe a lot of different electronic devices that deliver nicotine and other chemicals to a user, and often simulates smoking. That's why they are appealing. And over time, they have rapidly evolved into a variety of different products, a lot of different brands. This slide says 450, but I would venture to guess it's even more than that these days. And across this screen, this sort of shows really how they've evolved over time as far as what they've looked like. If you look at the very left-hand side of the screen here, this was one of the first e-cigarettes to really come out on the market. And this was called a cig-alike because it looks just like a cigarette. The second generation, as we call it, which is that red device on the screen there, the second one to the right, that is quite literally what we call a vape pen. And that's no surprise, since it looks just like a pen, something that you could find in a pencil box or in a backpack, something that really and truly could be hidden in plain sight. And so the second generation device, there's basically how you use it is it plugs in, you have an e-liquid that goes in the middle there. You put it up to your mouth and you hold the button and inhale, and then there's an aerosol or a vapor that comes out. And so it disappears pretty quickly. So it's just kind of this thin vapor that comes out, and then it might disappear quickly and might smell fruity, because oftentimes that's sort of what e-liquids smell like when they come out. So that's a vape pen. And then the third generation, or kind of the next line of products that had come out, these are called mod boxes. So it's that kind of third one down here. And mod is short for modifiable, because with these products, you can essentially just combine different e-liquid flavors. So you could have a chocolate vanilla cupcake, or I think what's concerning to some people is that you could even put other substances into them. And if you've ever maybe gone onto a plane and you've seen a sign that says no vaping allowed here, these products are actually a big reason for that, because these are the ones that are most known for starting fires or exploding. And essentially the reason why these explode is because there's a thicker battery that goes into the bottom. And so every time you put the battery in and out, it corrodes it. And for some reason it sparks, and then a flame comes out of it. So not only are there several kind of health hazards that we already know just inevitably when you're putting something into your lungs, but then on top of it, there's sort of this physical health hazard too. Like if you go onto YouTube, you could probably look up, there's like kids' backpacks starting on fire because of these devices. So that's essentially what a mod box is. And with these products too, you'll see a lot more aerosol emission, and you might see kids doing vape tricks with them. So they'll blow like circles, or maybe they call it waterfalling, where the aerosol comes out of the bottom of the mouth and it looks like a waterfall. So that is the mod box, or the third generation. And then on the way right-hand side here on the screen, these are the fourth or newer generation of products. And what I think is really interesting about these is that somehow the industry figured out how to isolate nicotine salts from the tobacco plant. And so what nicotine salts do, and what's kind of interesting, is that nicotine salts deliver a lot higher hit to the brain. And so there's just a lot more overall nicotine that's just being flooded into the brain compared to these other generations of products. And so what's interesting is if we look at this as a whole, from the first generation out to the fourth, there's definitely a progression of aerosol emission, I would say, and then also just a lot bigger hit of nicotine. These are some brands of e-cigarettes that I would say are most current. So there's Smoke, there's Puff Bar, Loon, Mr. Fog, Nick Sticks, Hyde. You can kind of see what's most current by what's maybe sold at a gas station, or maybe these are found in your own home. But these are just some examples of products that are popular these days. So the second thing that's really helpful to know, and that we've already kind of covered, is that these products are unfortunately sometimes hidden in plain sight. I put some examples up on the screen. If you look on the right-hand side there, these devices look like fidget spinners, which is really concerning. You might just take a look at these and say, oh, that's something that I would expect a student to have, right? Or my child to have, but it's actually a vape. Or in the middle there, there's a vape watch. So someone could, be wearing a watch, pop out the little, I don't know what you call it, the little vape in there, puff on it and then just put it right back in. And then on the very left-hand side there, this is actually a hoodie string. And so oftentimes I've heard of students who will be sitting right in the classroom and they'll take the hoodie string, vape on it right in the middle of the classroom, and they'll be able to get away with it. And oftentimes this is because, again, the aerosol or the vapor, it goes away pretty quickly, and it's pretty hard to detect other than the really fruity flavor. The third thing that I think everyone should know about vaping is that just because a student is vaping or your child is vaping, it doesn't mean that they're a bad person or that they're necessarily choosing to do this to irk you. It's actually the industry has a really big part to play in the marketing to our young people. They spend $9.5 billion a year on marketing, and the vast majority of that is in the retail environment. 90% of youth report exposure to cigarette ads and 80% to e-cigarette ads. So if you take a look at the picture on this screen, this is an ad for Juul, and you can see there's a young girl on there, and really bright colors. It's just a very attractive or alluring kind of an ad. And this is just one example of how historically the tobacco industry has targeted our kids for many, many, many years. And they continue to do that. And so this addiction, and I can't emphasize this enough, youth addiction to vapes are very much targeted to them, unfortunately. This is another example of how social media has played into this, especially with Instagram and TikTok. On the very right side, you can see that this person is blowing O-rings. And so this is kind of what I was talking about with the aerosol and vape tricks, right? So they'll make TikToks or short videos of them blowing these O-rings. On the left, the picture on the left here, you can see the caption is "Me after my vape dies, and I have to ask someone for a cigarette because they give you the same feeling." And so you can see there's just loads of hashtags that if you have a TikTok or an Instagram or any kind of social media, I would encourage you to just look it up and see what pops up, because I think you'll find that there's actually a lot out there, unfortunately, on both being presented to them, but also, youth participating in this way too. The fourth thing you should know is that e-cigarettes are not water vapor. I actually think that this is unfortunately a common myth, that many people think that e-cigarettes are safe, that there's really not anything in them. But what we know is that it's primarily composed of flavorings, vegetable glycerin, nicotine, and propylene glycol. And if we look at some of the chemicals that are actually in an e-liquid, here's a really kind of a hefty list of everything that's in there. I honestly couldn't even pronounce probably half of these. But if we kind of just slowed down and really took a look at what actually is in, where these chemicals are also in the world. Propylene glycol is actually in antifreeze. I wonder if anyone can guess in the chat what has acetone in it. I'll give you a minute so I don't completely spoil it. So acetone is in nail polish remover, ethylbenzene, paints and pesticides, formaldehyde used for embalming dead bodies. Nicotine, of course, is found in cigarettes. And rubidium is found in fireworks. And so this just goes to show that all of these chemicals that are in these products like antifreeze, nail polish remover, paints, pesticides, fireworks, all of these different chemicals are the same chemicals that are going into the lungs when someone is vaping. The fifth takeaway that I hope you take with you today is that we just talked about how there definitely is nicotine in vapes, right? And what we know is that nicotine is addictive, and particularly when the younger that kids are using these products, the more likely they are to use them in the long term. Youth nicotine exposure has negative implications for learning, memory, and attention span. And just to add something here too, what's kind of crazy is that with the Juul products in particular, one of those pods, and a pod is like it's the portion of the device that holds the e-liquid. In each one of those Juul pods, there's close to 2 packs worth of nicotine in just one pod. And that is just an astounding amount of nicotine that is going into the body of a young person. And in some cases, we have heard of people who have passed out because they've had way too much nicotine or thrown up. In more extreme cases, I've even heard of kids who have gotten into a coma. And so, yeah, what we know is that the young, especially the body of a young person, really cannot handle just as much nicotine as we've found to be in a lot of these different products. The sixth takeaway here is that a lot of the times, especially when I talk to students or young people, what I hear is that a big reason that they vape is because they think that it relaxes them. They might be stressed about a test, or they might have a football game tomorrow, and they'll say, oh, I use it to calm down or to just unwind because it helps my mental health. But what they don't really realize is that it actually can increase their anxiety or depression in the long term. And so there's kind of what I call this is like the withdrawal cycle, because the nicotine concentrations are just so high. It's this chronic cycle that they end up becoming stuck in. They use that vape to get that positive hit to the brain. And then after maybe an hour or a couple of hours, they suddenly feel the low lows of withdrawal. So then it starts again. They're like, oh, I'm going to go hit my vape. It'll make me feel better. And so it ends up being this kind of circular impact of the addiction. And so comparatively, when you're not vaping, ideally, you're kind of at this steady mid-level. But when you're stuck in that cycle, it can be this chronic kind of up and down circular impacts of addiction. And then another example that I wanted to share, something that I hear about is sometimes when students are in classrooms, for example, they might have their vape in their locker. And so if they're sitting in the classroom setting, they might have a very hard time concentrating on the presentation that's in front of them or an assignment that's in front of them, because again, they are in that withdrawal mode. And all that they can think of is, okay, when can I get my vape out of my locker? So here's a video that, let me share my sound quick. I'm gonna go ahead and play this video, and I hope it really just paints the picture of what I'm talking about today.
Off the list. I see no difference. Okay, fine. Okay, so you go up to him and you say hello.
Or we can do something easier like a third of 33.
Ah! No, you don't. Got that. No. Yes!
There are solids, liquids, gases, plasma. Lines, please. Now, states of matter are comprised of.
Come on, honey, dinner.
Come on,
Headphones, please.
headphones, buddy.
Headphones. Come on. What?
Hey!
Oh my.
Oh, okay, that's good. What kind of meeting? What were you doing?
It was fine. I don't really want to talk about it.
You never want to talk about it, Trey. I'm just.
I said I don't want to talk about it.
Wait, Trey, what are you doing? Just get out!
What is going on with you?
Get out!
Listen to me.
Get out of my room!
Andy!
Get out of my room, okay?
No, I will not get out.
Get out! Get out!
I want to talk to you.
Just get out, okay? Trey, come on. What? Let's get back in the car. Let's talk.
I don't want to talk about it.
That is not
Please,
okay.
get out!
No.
Lie!
I'm not lying. I didn't say anything. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. I didn't say anything. I hate this! Stop it!
It's a relationship between molecules, Danny.
What's going on? Open the door.
So I just like that video because I can sit here and talk about all of the health harms or the mental health harms. But this really does a good job, I think, of painting the picture of what this looks like as it plays out in real life. So the number 7 is that what we know is that really a big reason why kids are attracted to these products is because they're flavored like candy and cupcakes and all of the things that kids love. It's just so funny to me when it's just so obvious that these are marketed to young people. If you look on the left-hand side of the screen here, there's one can of real Ready Whip, and then there's another bottle that looks very similar, but it is not Ready Whip. It's actually an e-liquid. There's e-liquids that look like Warheads and Candy King and Trolleys, Pop Rocks. And these are very, very alluring to young people. What's kind of interesting is that some of the intoxicity reports actually, there was an increase in toxicity incidents because there were a lot of toddlers getting into products like these. So just lots of concerns around this. And then if you look on the right-hand side there too, you'll see that the ad says to-do list: study, groceries, band practice, vape time. There's Post-its and a laptop. These are 100% marketed to kids, and I don't think that there's a question about that. So here are some results from the 2022 Minnesota Student Survey that show us fruit and menthol were the two flavors most used by 11th grade students, and 88% of 11th grade students who vaped reported vaping flavored e-cigarettes. So this is a lot of, I know sometimes when I talk about vaping, it feels overwhelming because it's like we have so many problems, right? But on a better note, there are a lot of resources out there that can kind of help with this issue. So there is a program out there for teens called My Life, My Quit. And this is a program for kids age 12 to 18. There's an online and a text option for this. There's some one-on-one coaching support, depending on your age. And if you have parent permission, there's access to nicotine replacement therapies. There's educational materials. And so even if a young person, like they enroll in here, they don't even necessarily have to quit. But just even getting enrolled can give them some really helpful information and just kind of explore if coaching might be something for them. If you're a parent, there's definitely lots of resources out there for you. One of the better fact sheets that are out there is the Surgeon General's Guide for talking to your kids about vaping. And if you're someone who spends a lot of time in the car, you might want to check out this podcast. It's called Big Tobacco Messed with the Wrong Moms. And this is headed up by PAVE, the Parents Against Vaping E-Cigarettes group. There's, of course, the Vape Talk by the American Lung Association. And then the last kind of takeaway or thing that I wanted to mention here that you might not know is that the tobacco age is now 21, if you weren't aware of that. And a big reason why that law change happened was because there was a lot of 18-year-olds purchasing products and they were getting in the hands of middle schoolers, high schoolers. And so ideally, this age gap just kind of helps block some of that stream to some of our younger groups. And so just because the age is now 21, and I think it's great news that we're starting to see this law change take effect and impact our vape rates in a positive way. There's still more that you can do to help make a difference in your community. And that's something that I still do under, I'm funded through a grant called the Statewide Health Improvement Partnership. And one of my jobs or one of my roles is that I'm here as a support person for you. And so some examples of action steps that some communities are taking. Some schools are working on implementing education and treatment programs that they're integrating into their school policies. Another example is that there's some communities in Minnesota who are saying, hey, we don't even want flavored products that are available for our kids to have in the first place, and we want to take them off of the shelves completely. So these are just two of many examples of things that you can still do to make a difference in your community, and I would be more than happy to help support that. So just a couple more resources here. There's a program called In Depth. This is through the American Lung Association. And In Depth is a program that is generally offered for free in the school setting. And ideally, the goal of the program is that once teens are enrolled, when they come out of the program, they are more willing and able to quit their commercial tobacco addiction. So here are just a couple of other resources with links. I'm hitting my time here, but there's links to My Life, My Quit, more information on flavored tobacco, the Vape Talk, and a school resource fact sheet if you're looking for more of that information. And I can share that out with Cassandra. So with that, here's my information. If you ever want to reach out or ask more questions, I could talk about this topic for a very long time. So I'm more than happy to help with resources. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to see if there's any questions.
Will we get those resources sent to us?
Yeah, I'm going to plan to share them back to Cassandra, and then I think she can share back out with everyone who signed up.